The wreck drifted in the void like a corpse among the stars. Jalen Marrick's salvage ship, the Vireo, coasted through the debris field on silent engines, its dark hull reflecting the glimmer of the shattered moons nearby. Jalen watched the wreckage spin slowly across the viewport. Shards of white alloy, blackened plating, the scattered bones of a once great warship. He was alone as usual. "Computer, mark energy signatures," he muttered. The console hummed and a scan pulsed across the field. A blip appeared, a faint signal not just from power cells but life support. That caught his attention. The wreck wasn't just a derelict, it was inhabited. Jalen adjusted the ship's course and guided the Vireo closer. The hull markings on the drifting vessel became clearer. A crest, a golden phoenix surrounded by 12 stars. He froze. That was the emblem of the Galactic Crown fleet. He almost backed away right then. Salvaging royal property was treason in 5 sectors. But the weak life signal tugged at his conscience. Whoever it was, soldier or stowaway, was running out of air. "Damn it," Jalen sighed, flipping a lever. "All right, let's get you out of there." He latched onto the wreck and cut through the hull with his plasma torch. The interior was chaos. Burned corridors, floating debris, and bodies in black armor. The blast marks told a story. An ambush, maybe even an inside job. When he reached the life signal, he found her. Half buried under fallen plating, her armor cracked, helmet shattered. The faint hum of her breathing unit was barely audible. Jalen pried off the debris and lifted her carefully. She was light, surprisingly so for a soldier in full battle armor. Her face, visible through the broken visor, was pale beneath streaks of blood and soot. Even unconscious, she looked different. Regal somehow. Her features were sharp but soft, her dark hair floating around her like ink in water. Her armor was royal-grade titanium, a model used only by command officers. He frowned. "Who the hell are you?" But there was no answer. Only the weak rhythm of her heartbeat, steady against the vacuum. He carried her aboard the Vireo and sealed the airlock. The mechanic and the soldier. In his workshop, Jalen laid her armor on the repair table. Cracks spiderwebbed across the chest plate, and the power core was half melted. He set his tools out and got to work, the way he'd done for years repairing old drones and scavenged suits. Hours passed. He replaced the melted circuits, restructured the armor joints, and rewired the inner layers with a new energy lattice. The armor wasn't just protection, it was a marvel of royal engineering. He was almost in awe. Whoever this woman was, she was no ordinary soldier. When she finally stirred, it startled him. "Hey, easy," he said, moving closer. "You're safe. You were drifting out there." Her eyes opened, silver gray, glowing faintly under the dim light. They darted around, assessing everything, the room, the man, the tools. "Where am I?" Her voice was low but commanding. "Salvage ship Vireo," Jalen said. "Name's Jalen. I found your ship wrecked in the Lumia belt." She sat up suddenly, wincing at the pain in her ribs. "The fleet. What happened to the fleet?" "I don't know," he replied. "Your ship was gone when I got there. You're the only survivor I found." Her gaze fell to her repaired armor. "You fixed this?" "Yeah, I do salvage. Repairs too when I have the parts." She looked at him for a long moment. Something softened in her eyes. "Thank you." He shrugged. "Don't thank me yet. You were carrying Crown Fleet tech. That's dangerous to have on board. If the patrols find you here." "They won't," she interrupted. Her tone was confident, but her hands trembled slightly as she tried to stand. Jalen caught her before she fell. "Whoa, take it easy." She leaned against him, breathing hard. I have to contact the Citadel. The Citadel's light years from here, Jalen said. You'll never reach them on the Vireo's comms. Signal range is. I'll manage, she said sharply. Jalen sighed. You don't even have your ID tags on you. For all I know, you could be. I'm not a deserter. Her tone cut through him like a blade. Then quieter. My name is Lyra. All right, Lyra. Until I figure out who you really are, you're staying here. I'll get us out of the belt. After that, you can decide where to go. She gave him a long, unreadable look, then nodded. Fine. 3 echoes of war. Days passed as the Vireo drifted through deep space, away from the wreckage. Jalen repaired the ship's fuel system and patched the sensors. Lyra spent most of her time in silence, watching the stars through the viewport, lost in thought. Sometimes he'd catch her whispering names to herself. Karen, Myra, Talos, as if she were reciting the dead. Once he asked, You lose friends on that ship? She nodded. Family too. He didn't press further. Everyone in this galaxy had ghosts. When they shared meals in the mess hall, the conversations grew easier. She asked about his life. He told her he used to serve as an engineer in the Outer Rim Wars before quitting the service. Didn't like taking orders from people who never saw the front lines, he said. Lyra smiled faintly. You sound like my old instructor. Let me guess, he got himself killed. Her smile faded. Yes, protecting me. Jalen regretted the joke instantly. I'm sorry. It's all right, she said softly. He would have liked you. For the first time, he saw a flicker of warmth behind the soldier's mask. But that night, while Jalen was asleep, Lyra broke into the ship's encrypted console. She used an emergency frequency known only to the Crown's inner council. The signal pulsed across the void, until she heard a mechanical voice respond. Royal beacon detected. Identity. Lyra Seraphine, Queen of the Galactic Crown. Status. Presumed deceased. Her hand trembled. So the rumors were true. The coup had succeeded. The fleet was gone. The council had fallen. And now, she was the last of the royal bloodline. She shut the transmission off before Jalen could hear. For the hunters. 3 days later they picked up a distress beacon. No, not a beacon. Pursuit signal. Jalen frowned at the console. That can't be right. Someone's tracking us. Lyra's face turned pale. Who? Don't know. But they're fast. Moments later, a sleek vessel emerged from hyperspace. Black hull, crimson insignia. Jalen cursed under his breath. Crimson Directorate. Mercenaries. Lyra's voice hardened. They're assassins. Who'd send assassins after you? Her silence told him more than words. The Directorate ship opened fire. Plasma bolts ripped through space, narrowly missing the Vireo. Jalen yanked the controls, diving into an asteroid cluster. Hold on, he shouted as the ship rattled. Can't we outrun them? Lyra yelled. Not in this rust bucket. I'll have to fight back. He armed the defense drones, old rusty things, but they still worked. The drones launched from the hull and returned fire, distracting the Directorate long enough for Jalen to maneuver behind a large asteroid. He powered down the engines, plunging them into darkness. The Directorate ship hovered nearby, scanning. Then, after a long pause, it drifted away. Lyra exhaled shakily. You saved us. Jalen turned in his chair, breathing hard. You want to tell me why they're after you? Because assassins don't chase random soldiers. Her jaw tightened. She looked away. It's complicated. Try me. She hesitated, then stood slowly. You deserve the truth. V. The revelation. Lyra touched her repaired armor, tracing the golden phoenix crest with her fingers. This insignia, you thought it meant I was a commander. Doesn't. It's the mark of the royal guard. And this armor was never mine. Jalen frowned. Then whose? She met his eyes. The Queen's. Jalen stared at her, realization dawning. You're saying, I am Lyra Seraphine, daughter of King Theon and Queen Alara, heir to the Galactic Crown. He paused. And since they're gone, I am now the reigning queen. The words hung in the air like a shockwave. Jalen blinked. That's impossible. Queen died 2 weeks ago. Every news channel said the Crown fleet was destroyed. They were wrong, Lyra said quietly. I was there when the fleet fell. The Admiral betrayed us, aligned with the Crimson Directorate. My guards died getting me to the escape pod. When you found me, I was running out of air. Jalen took a step back, processing it all. So you're telling me I've been harboring the Queen of the Galaxy in my salvage ship? She gave a faint, sad smile. Seems so. He laughed once, disbelieving. You could have told me earlier. Would you have helped me if you knew? He hesitated. Honestly, probably not. Too many people die getting involved with royalty. Her gaze softened. And yet, you saved me anyway. Yeah, well, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Guess I didn't know better. Lyra stepped closer, lowering her voice. The Directorate won't stop until I'm dead. But if I can reach the outer colonies, I might find loyalists still alive. Will you take me there? Jalen studied her for a moment. She looked tired, fragile even, but there was fire in her eyes. He sighed. All right, Your Majesty. Let's see if this rust bucket can save an empire. 6. The journey through shadows. The Vireo slipped through hidden star lanes, avoiding patrols and mercenary ships. Jalen upgraded the engines, cannibalizing parts from derelicts they passed. Lyra learned to assist him, fixing wiring, recalibrating drives, anything to keep busy. At night they'd talk about the past, the war, the crown, the lost worlds. She told him stories of her childhood in the Celestial Citadel, learning diplomacy from her mother, flying training runs through the capital's skies, dreaming of peace. Jalen shared his memories of the Rim Wars, how he'd seen men turn to dust under orbital bombardments, how he'd sworn never to serve another crown. You hate monarchies, she observed one night. I hate hypocrisy, he corrected. Kings who pretend to care about their people, then send them to die. She nodded slowly. Then help me prove I'm not one of them. That silence between them afterward wasn't awkward. It was heavy with understanding. Over the next few weeks, their trust grew. Jalen taught her how to handle ship repairs. She taught him how to fight with precision. When they trained together, he noticed how graceful she was, how every movement carried purpose. He also noticed how her eyes lingered on him longer each day. But neither spoke of it. The galaxy was too dangerous for that kind of confession. 7. The battle for the outer colonies. When they finally reached the outer colonies, they found devastation. Whole cities burned, skies filled with warships bearing the Directorate's crimson banners. They got here first, Jalen muttered. Lyra's jaw clenched. Then we take it back. With what army? She looked at him. With hope. She broadcast a signal across the colonies, a call to arms. Her voice, once thought lost, echoed through the systems. This is Lyra Seraphine, rightful queen of the Galactic Crown. To all who still believe in freedom, stand with me now. The Directorate's tyranny ends today. The response was overwhelming. Old warships emerged from hiding, miners armed their freighters, and rogue pilots joined the cause. A rebellion ignited among the stars. Jalen couldn't believe it. "You actually did it." She smiled. "No, we did it." The battle that followed was brutal. The Vireo, patched and upgraded, became the flagship of the resistance. Jalen handled the engines and weapons while Lyra led the fleet. At the height of the fight, a Directorate destroyer locked onto them. Plasma rounds tore through the hull. "We're hit," Jalen shouted. Lyra staggered, gripping the console. "We can't lose now." She launched the Vireo straight toward the destroyer's reactor. "Are you insane?" Jalen yelled. "Trust me," she said. He did. At the last second, she fired the ship's plasma torpedoes directly into the destroyer's exposed core. The explosion lit the void like a newborn star. When the light faded, the Directorate fleet was retreating. Cheers erupted across the comms. The rebellion had won. 8. The Queen's promise after the battle. The Vireo limped back to a liberated world. Mechanics and citizens crowded the docks, cheering as Lyra stepped out in her repaired armor, the same armor Jalen had fixed weeks ago. A mechanic whispered, "Is that really her?" Lyra raised her visor, smiling. "It's me." They knelt before her, but she shook her head. "And no one kneels before me ever again." Her words spread through the colonies like wildfire. Later, on the quiet observation deck, she stood beside Jalen, watching the reborn stars. "You repaired more than my armor," she said softly. "You repaired my faith." He smiled. "And you repaired my purpose." She turned to face him. "The Crown will need a new fleet engineer. Someone I can trust." "Is that a royal order?" "A request," she said, her tone gentle. He considered it, then nodded. "Then I accept." They stood in silence as the twin suns rose over the horizon, casting light over the galaxy they had saved together. 9. Epilogue. The legend of the Vireo. Years later, stories would spread across the stars, of a drifting salvage ship that found a dying soldier, only to discover she was the lost Galactic Queen. They'd say the mechanic who repaired her armor became her most trusted ally, the man who turned rust and ruin into rebellion. And whenever children asked their parents if the story was true, they'd smile and point to the night sky, where a single ship still drifted among the stars, its hull marked by a golden phoenix, a symbol of hope, rebirth, and the power of trust in the darkest of times. Because sometimes, fate hides its queens in broken armor, and heroes in the hands of those who dare to fix them.